What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. BobbyFi with my man, Eric Sheets-Haber. I took the weekend off from playing because it was NBA this time of year, as we all know, and I'm sure if you played, you realized that as volatile as we think it is normally, it's a whole different story when it's near the trade deadline. And this time of the in the middle of the season, people tend to, you get whole teams resting at times. It's really wild stuff. Saturday was out of control. I took a couple days off for that, worked on some other site stuff that we're doing. And Sheets, you sound like you played a little bit yesterday. Did okay?
Yeah, I did actually pretty decently yesterday. I was actually on the Discord, and I spent a little more time on it than I thought I was going to because after Lowry got ruled out, I reran my numbers, and I, hopefully you guys listened to what I was saying because we had some good stuff on there, and some of it was just not as high owned as I thought it was going to be. So that actually worked out. Played some other sports. The NASCAR got postponed because due to weather, and I had my kids around, which was fun. And yeah, overall good weekend and ready for a nice 11 game slate. The other thing I wanted to tell you just before I forget is the other thing I did yesterday. I played actually a showdown lineup in the Phoenix Toronto game. Not Phoenix, Toronto, Phoenix, whoever the hell they played. And the reason I mentioned it to you is, who had Charlotte. Who had like an amazing game yesterday? See, there's no way you would have seen it because it was a showdown slate. Miles Bridges was awesome.
I told you that I'll play that guy every time he goes up against his brother. It was yesterday, right? Or no, it was the day before.
Yeah, it was the day before, and it was yesterday. But he had like 4 incredible alley-oop dunks. Yeah, he was amazing. So I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I love that guy. Yeah, well, I'm excited to get into it because this is one thing about taking the time off. I always feel like I come back a little bit better and refreshed. I just want to remind everybody, while it is, it's so fun to play and everything right now, be careful with your bankrolls. There's a lot of weird stuff going on out there. And I'm just saying, on these giant slates, we've just seen so much weird stuff going on. So just be a little bit careful with your bankroll, I'd say. I think for another week or so until really the playoff push heats up. It's a good idea. So, Sheets, let's jump into the game by game, and if you want to pull up your screen.
Yeah, you had disabled my screen share.
I allowed it. It automatically disabled.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here we go. So let's start with look, we got a good game off the bat for fantasy purposes. What are you looking at? Because it's a huge slate. I'm not sure how much we're going to want to revisit this, but normally we would want to play Sabonis and Turner, I think, right? And potentially even in Brogdon.
Yeah. So first of all, I would start with Washington just because Bradley Beal is questionable. So kind of right off the bat. I mean, it's 7 o'clock. It's an 11-game slate, but if Beal is out, I mean, I think Westbrook is just certainly earned his 11K price tag recently, and with Beal out, it certainly isn't going to hurt. So that's something you have to watch for. Is there anybody else with questionable tags for Indiana?
Not at the moment, but you never.
Okay.
Oh, McDermott is.
Because I'm getting some good projections and some ownership actually out of Justin Holiday, and I was wondering why that would be. So I guess that would be because McDermott is out, I suppose. So I just figured I'd bring that up. He's not a guy that I usually like to play.
Yeah.
And maybe on an 11-game slate you might not need it.
Part of the reason I think also is that he gets steals and he makes threes, and Washington is terrible at both those things.
Okay.
So even his per minute projection seems a little bit higher than usual.
So for me, this game was not. It's funny. I think you're supposed to play guys against Washington, but I don't know if I was in such a big hurry to play Sabonis. Actually, I like Miles Turner at 5,700 a little bit. I like Brogdon a little bit. Yeah, I guess Sabonis only 800. Is that 8,800? No, that's Fanduel.
Yeah,
Fanduel
is a lot better.
Fanduel is 8,800. Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, again, no, I'm really no big hurry to play. I think Brogdon actually might be a better play. Don't you think Brogdon's a better play at 7K than?
I like both of them. The problem is with LeVert, Sabonis doesn't really take away that. Sabonis's usage hasn't really gone down much, even though his production kind of has a little bit. But Levert, as he's gotten more and more usage, we've seen a decline of Brogdon's a little bit. I still like him at this price tag in this matchup, and I still like Sabonis a lot. I mean, I really think Sabonis might have like a 60 game in this particular matchup, but there's a lot of plays in the slate. That's all I'd say. And then if Beal's out, I'm interested in Westbrook. If neither, or if everybody's in, I'm sorry, interested in Westbrook and Hachimura a little bit. But if everybody's in, I'll just I would actually consider just playing Beal, and he would be the only one I would be looking at.
The other thing I would say is, and we don't talk about this. I don't think we talk about it often enough. But like on an 11 game slate with what 100 possible players, pretty much you can play. You don't need to get, even in the big lottery ticket tournaments, you don't need to get that cute. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of ownership. I think is going to be spread, and if it isn't, like if you get some dude who just starts to just like suck up like all the ownership because of groupthink and like all this stuff, you know, those are the guys you really want to get away from. I mean, right. And yet on the other hand, like if you see a nice guy, you see a dude that's like in a great spot who's like 15% owned, don't say, oh, I don't want to play a 15% owned guy. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't worry too much about like middle range ownership tonight. I don't think anybody's going to end up being that popular. And if somebody does become that popular, I wouldn't go chasing.
I totally agree with that. Unless the guy was just in too good a spot. And actually, you know, it's funny that we're mentioning it during this game, but I do think Westbrook would be an interesting candidate if Beal was out to both. I mean, you could make a really strong argument that you need to play him, and you can make a really strong argument that you shouldn't play him on an 11 game slate at what might be like 45% ownership. I don't think that's going to, I mean, I think Beal's going to play it and we'll see. But if that was to happen, you might see Westbrook as one of those crazy high owned guys, and probably for good reason, but there's a lot of plays in this slate and there's a lot of ways to get.
Are we still in the mode where all else being equal, we want to just kind of push stuff back to the later games, or not? I presume not as much, right?
Not as much, I don't think, but I still feel like, and also I think you're entering more danger. There's, because of these teams, I noticed that certain players had protocol issues with the COVID thing when they transfer to their new teams. There's like 3 different players that happened with, and sort of it could end up causing stuff amongst all the teams. But I think for the most part, we're sort of a little bit more away from that. The only question is just knowing who's going to play at this point, because there's so many questionables in general.
Well, one of the other issues, by the way, is the fact that, I mean, what's become one of the more volatile situations, I mean, it usually is, but even more so this year, these kind of surprise rule outs by either Paul George or Kawhi.
Yeah.
So like, and that being the very, very, very last game of the day, you know, with one having such an impact on the other one, it might make a case towards sitting back a little bit. But there's so many games in that 7-8 o'clock window that I think it's not that big a deal. Okay.
Totally agree. All right. So New Orleans and Boston. I want to just point out real quick I guess that's an intro to the game. I think that Zion, it's happening, whatever we want to call it. You know what I mean? He's going to be putting up just monster games every night. They don't really match up extremely well with him, but nobody does. I don't think that I need to play him at 8,800 or 9K on Fanduel, but I think you're going to be looking at 50 or 45 plus almost every night. You could argue there's some blowout risk and whatnot, but the real issue, I guess, here is the Lonzo Ball being questionable. If Lonzo was out, I actually would probably play Bledsoe and take the discount from Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And also Walker's price has gone up to the point where not a ton of room. He does have more upside, but he's really been in that low 30s most of the time. Bledsoe is highly volatile, and this is only if Lonzo's out. But we'll play the minutes, and at 4.8 certainly can get 30 plus pretty, I think, often enough here to where he's in play. But just again, huge slate. Brandon Ingram is cheap. I just don't love anything in this other than Zion in this whole game. And the only other guy who, maybe we should talk about on the other side that for me, it's just the Robert Williams thing is kind of hard to ignore. What are your thoughts on this one? Because I think the slate is so big, I wanted to look past it, but there are some interesting options, I guess.
Robert Williams is legit, man. He's I like it, and to want to play him at 6,700 is a little. Who'd have thunk that take it back 2 weeks that Moses Brown and Robert Williams would be like 6,800 6,700 and basically viewed on as almost locks. You know, it's like it's I mean, I don't want to say that, but I mean, but it's kind of cool in a way. But yeah, I mean, especially with presuming that those other bigs are still out for Boston. Yeah, sure. I mean, he's one of, but you know, like almost always, there's a heap of center plays. You know, 3 or 4 of them in this basic price range, and you know, maybe a little bit cheaper, but it's
Well, one thing that works out interestingly for him tonight is that I think he plays until he fouls out without the other bigs being available. Because you look at, like, we made the same point. I made the same point last week. We don't want to play, you know, stud centers against Steven Adams, but it works on the flip side where if you have a guy whose only issue is minutes, and even the minutes have gone up obviously, but now you have a team with Zion and Steven Adams. More importantly, like just the overall size, like how are they going to? I don't know how they're going to guard Zion anyway. What are they going to put Marcus Smart and Tatum on him or something? And then you have Robert Williams, who's going to have to play as many minutes as he can because that's just too much size. Like they don't even have a guy to match up with Zion, much less Adams. Like that's a lot of size and strength inside. So I think Williams could actually see a boost in this kind of game, which is weird because I usually hate those guys against Adams and all that. But I like it, man. I think he makes some sense.
And it's weird. I'm looking ahead a little bit, but this weekend, what happened to the NBA? I mean, with all the, I guess, trades and whatever, there's a guy whose rating like right now is like a top value player. I literally have never heard of. Well, I mean, I have no idea who it is.
He in this game?
No, not in this game.
Okay,
I mean, literally, like, right. I had to like look at my spreadsheet to say he's on this team. And then I literally, like, going into the weekend and never heard the guy's name in my life. So we'll get there, I guess.
Okay, we'll get to him. But anybody on New Orleans side for you?
Yeah. As usual. Oh, and I got to give you a little credit for this one. So as usual, we have to look and see who's out. Presuming that Ball is out, I guess. I don't know. Then I guess all these guys are still fine. You know, Bledsoe, Hart, and Walker. But this, I don't know whether you remember telling me this, but I had him here.
Yep.
Bledsoe at freaking 39 fantasy points at 4,400.
And like
5% ownership. Yeah.
I don't want to play him anymore. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was nuts. So I mean, if he's going to continue to get minutes like that, I mean, it's not like he's bad. He's just, you know, whatever. He's a little aged, I suppose. I don't know. That's the best I can describe it.
I don't think they know what to do with him in their offense, and in real life, it's some real basketball issues. And he's had so many duds of games in the second half of the season. But the upside is always going to be there. He's a guy who can, you know, like he's just a streak player. He's not a guy who's going to consistently put up 25 a night. He might put up 40 some nights. He'll put up 15 some nights. That's the way it's going to go. And the minutes are something that if Ball is out, that the minutes are just going to be incredible. So, yeah, I think he's interesting, but I don't think if Ball plays, he's in play.
Yeah, I don't. Aside from that, I don't really have too much in this game.
Yeah, I got you. All right, let's move over to Minnesota, Brooklyn, the game that we would, I guess normally this is what you want to target, right? Like, I'll just say again, another candidate of why it's hard to place a bonus is that Karl Anthony Towns is going to put up a ton of fantasy points tonight if this game stays remotely close, as will Anthony Edwards. I like both of them very much. I know that people see the price tag on Towns. People got to remember, last year Towns was a guy who was 10-5 like most. I mean, he's a guy who can get 60s like on the regular, and you couldn't put him in a better matchup than against this Brooklyn team. So if they're able to hang around at all, I think you might see Towns put up like 60 plus. So I like him a lot. And Anthony Edwards getting a bunch of shots off against a team that doesn't play defense is appealing. What's not so appealing is the lack of assists, and he basically needs to rebound to get you there, because even when he goes 11 for 22 like the last game, he only had 38 fantasy points. You want those games where he has the big rebounds. Maybe he lucks into a steal or a block. He's pretty good with the steals, actually, and Brooklyn can get sloppy. So I like those two. Sheets, how about you?
Yeah, so I've got some stuff. One of the reasons why I'm not as into Edwards, or maybe not as into Cat or whatever it is, or maybe whatever is, I don't know if you noticed, but Malik Beasley came back from like a month off. And he came back, played 30 minutes, and put up 17 shots. Now he didn't make any of them. he was 4 for 17, including 3 of 12. And we're gonna see how many chuckers we can have on one team with him and Edwards together. So I don't know if it's the same environment for Edwards to be able to get off all the shots. The other thing is that I was hoping that maybe Beasley would have come in a little cheaper the other day, because I wanted to play him actually coming off of that. But he came in 6,800. But he does help the team. So for me, what that does is actually I actually think it gets them a little closer to being competitive in this game. I think Cat's obviously a good play, but likewise, again, this is more guys shooting the ball. That Cat's not going to be shooting the ball, although Cat will demand the ball, and he can do what he wants, I suppose, because he's Cat. But for me, I know that Kyrie is back and all this stuff, but dude, I just kind of want to play Harden.
I'm with you 100%.
I just kind of want to play Harden. I mean, they're playing Minnesota, and if the game even stays like closer because of what I just said, I mean, it's even more to the point. I mean, like I just kind of want Harden. I think I know it's going to go against what I said or whatever. It is 11 game slate with 100 guys, but like for me, I mean, this is just as of right now. He's like clearly the first guy I want in my lineups in 110 players. That's kind of where I'm at.
I completely agree. I think Harden is one of the and he should project that way, and he's one of the best plays on the slate without a question, I think, and feel very comfortable going with him. And again, I still kind of like the run back, especially with Towns. I just think that if the game stays close, you could be really scoring. I want to mention one other guy who I didn't mention, and he's better play on Fanduel, but Jaden McDaniels is officially getting the minutes now. So that's kind of interesting. And 3,700 on FanDuel. He's playing 30 plus minutes. It's a Brooklyn team that leaks to everything that he would do, whether it's offensive rebounding, whether it's, steals, blocks, everything, etc. He can fill in all those categories. And with Beasley back, oddly, it seems to have solidified their rotation even. And I think the minutes that we've been seeing are pretty much what we're going to see. So I think you're going to see a lot of Jaden McDaniels minutes, and got him projected in the 30s. And I think that at 3,700, more on FanDuel, but it's still a good play on DraftKings as well. So I do like Jaden McDaniels. Just wanted to throw that out there.
But before we leave this game, and I do want to jump on what you said. I do think that Cat is obviously in a really, really good matchup. And I know what's going to happen though. It's going to be that game that I always get out of Cat, where he's got 50 at halftime and 58 at the end of the game.
I'll take it. It's still 58.
Not the 58 the end of the world, but I know. But it's going to be 35 at the half, or more to the point, it's going to be 25 at the end of the first quarter. Okay.
Right.
And then he'll get his 6 minutes or whatever. He'll have 35 at the half. And I'll be saying, okay, I'm going to change all my lineups to get a little chalkier later because I have this, that, and the other thing. And he'll have 35 at the half and end up at 45. And then I've just seen it. I've seen it too many times.
Yeah.
But he's going to project well. He's going to be a good play. And but with some caution. I mean, there's obviously some other good center plays at a lower range. He's you could play a Cat Harden lineup, spend some dough that way, and you know what you're rooting for at least.
Yep, absolutely. All right, you ready to go to the next one?
Yeah, so I have an opinion on this as well, and I think you guys, I would imagine that you guys know what my opinion is going to be. But you could start with this game.
Well, I want to know what the hell's going on if Julius Randle's going to play, first of all. I'm guessing he is as of right now. So Nerlens Noel and with no Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel is going to look like a great play. Just remember, we had him playing even more minutes than, even what we were going to see projected out there for him today. And he wasn't smashing every time at the price, but he's still a very good play. I'm not going to, there's no sugarcoating it. He's a guy who makes a lot of sense. At center on both sides, or center. And then I believe he's still center. I think he's center now on draft. Yeah, Fanduel. Yeah. So I think he is a really good play, and he's the chalky guy of the early part of the slate that we've talked about. Obviously, if Julius Randle's out, that's going to open up a whole bunch of different stuff. But I'm not going to pretend. I think he'll play. I think that he does everything to try and play today. Jimmy Butler is still too cheap, but we do get Goran Dragic back, and they're more healthy, so it's not quite as appealing as it was. But I definitely, and New York's been a tough matchup. But Miami needs to win games, and whenever that happens, it feels like Butler definitely always, we know he has that ceiling, and also he's not going to hurt you either. He's going to be in the 40s or the 50s. He's not going to have a terrible night very often here. So I like Butler and Bam. I think there's upside for both of them. I think there's upside on the minutes projections for both of them as well. But I would rank it Butler ahead of Bam, and then I'm definitely going to be playing some Noel.
Yeah, I got to do a little research on that because I didn't. I'm not getting Noel as much here, as much of anything. Well, we'll see. I guess because Miss Rob is out, I suppose. But my opinion on this game is from a fantasy perspective. It's for me, it's probably Butler or nothing. Unless, of course, Randle gets ruled out, in which case, we're just going to have to look at it, right? We're just going to have to see. Yep. But here's my comment, and this is should be obvious by now. So I don't know whether he's going to get coach of the year, Thibodeau or whatever. But one thing that the team has done from the beginning of the season till now is commit to defense, and they've been just awesome. I mean, they really have. And then on the other side of the ball, you have Miami, who, they're still one of the better defensive teams, or at least they're terrific. So these two playing each other, it's got to be an over. That's for sure. Right. so I'll probably bet the over, whatever it is. What is it, 204 or something like that?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I was just looking at nitrogen to see what the line is. But in fantasy, I don't think anybody is really worth playing.
And just a reminder about Noel, they don't have any other bigs other than Randle, and you've got Miami who's going to play at least one, if not multiple bigs occasionally. So I just want to throw that out there about the Noel thing. But again, we'll see later in the day. And the one danger. Oh, I'm sorry, they do have big. That's the one danger is Taj Gibson has been getting a ton of minutes off the bench, and they played well with him. So that is a way that it could ruin the Noel thing, which I'm always happy to try and find a way off of what I think early on in the day might be a very chalky Noel.
All right, hold on. Just put my money where my mouth is here. You just bet. There it is. One MBTC, which is what, $55, something like that, on the over 204.5.
There you go. Beautiful.
We're in. Okay, you want to move on?
Yeah, Toronto, Detroit. Let's do it. You want to go first on this one? Or I can do
it. So yesterday, the main Toronto guys was just basically just treated with the ultimate disrespect by DraftKings. They priced them all under 8K, and I thought they were all basically, just incredibly impossible to fade. And then they scratched Lowry to make it worse. So and against Portland. So I thought all those guys they were fine, whatever it is. Nobody did bad, nobody did terrific. But they're still really just super cheap. And I don't know exactly why they're not popping in the projection models all that much. I just don't exactly get it. But so I like them all again. I like even if they're all playing, man. I don't know, Van Vliet, Lowry, Siakam, and if Lowry's out, the other guy I'll give a shot to, another shot, who I liked him a little bit yesterday. Just it was first game of the team or whatever it was, or second. Is that I'll give Gary Trent another shot. He was 2 for 10 from the field. Maybe taking over that Norman Powell role just a little bit. So I don't mind him. And this is not much projection play because none of these guys are looking all that great. But I don't know. It just seems like they're just the instinctive. It just seemed really cheap on the Toronto side. And Detroit, you're gonna have to talk me through this a little bit because it's the whole universe out or something where I'm getting Saban Lee is my second top value, or just because he played 24 minutes yesterday or something like that. because I guess he started Saturday. I don't know.
If,
But
good.
right now he's looking to me to be like second best value play on this slate.
Yeah, it depends on. I guess they ran a few minutes with Corey Joseph and him out there together before, or at least that was speculation they were going to. I didn't actually. I know. You know what? Joseph hasn't played. I don't know what I'm talking about. Joseph. I don't know what's going to happen with Corey Joseph. If he's going to, I assume. I don't know what they're going to do. So I think this is one of those we need the starting lineup situations. But I definitely have Saban Lee on my list of plays. I don't have the same exact booming projections for everybody else. It's weird with what they're doing. Like occasionally they've played Plumlee a few more minutes, and he's been really good per minute all year. It's a great matchup. You know, I love the bigs against Toronto. But I don't feel in love with it a lot here. Jeremy Grant makes some sense. I mostly think Saban Lee would be the interest on Detroit's side for me. And on Toronto, I just want to point out that all year we've sort of been playing a lot of these Toronto guys, but mostly it's been without Anunoby. And usually that wouldn't be the biggest thing. I actually thought Anunoby being out in some ways even hurt them because Norman Powell's a more aggressive offensive player historically. Anunoby is chucking now. He's really filling into the guy who they want him to be, I think. And he's actually playing really well, playing a bunch of minutes. And he's having a lot more to do with the offense, which does give a little bump down to everybody else. So I sort of get why that they're not popping quite as much. If Lowry played, he might be the guy I have the most interest in. Okay. And I think he will. Like, my guess is that they sat him on the back-to-back situation. I think they're still trying to win games. So Lowry, I would rank the Toronto guys probably Lowry then Van Vliet, but I might actually just go completely sideways. And if we're going to get off of a chalky guy and maybe take a weird long shot play, at least in large field tournaments probably, but on Boucher, 5,200. It's an interesting pivot off of Nerlens Noel. Probably too big of a slate, but just wanted to mention it. I don't think there's a ton I'm going to do with this game except for Saban Lee at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know about the Saban Lee business. I mean, maybe I just missed it. I mean, I remember he had the one game earlier in the season, and then just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth.
He's a young guy who's they don't have any point guard. They don't have any guards.
Because Smith is out.
Only Joseph.
What about Frank Jackson? He can't play.
He can play like 2 minutes.
I don't know. He's got 15, 16. He had 30 4 games ago. I mean,
that was him starting.
Well, let me ask you something. So why was Frank Jackson playing? I'm just not playing devil's advocate, but where was Saban Lee when Frank Jackson was playing 30
minutes? Joseph now too. Wait, you said where was Saban Lee?
Where was Saban Lee out?
No, he was playing.
So why did Frank Jackson get 30 minutes then?
They didn't want him to be starting. Frank Jackson's not a part of their plan. He's just a stopgap. That's all he is. If he's starting, it makes some sense, that he would play a bunch of minutes. And now they have Corey Joseph. So my guess, especially especially against his former team, that Corey Joseph would probably end up starting. And if not, it would be Saban Lee. They're also making a transition to being bad. That's their thing. They're not trying, you know what I mean? They don't need to win games. They need the opposite actually. So
what about has Hamidou Diallo played yet for this team?
Yeah, what did they give him, like 18 minutes the other day? I don't know what they're doing. It just seems like to take wild guesses on all these guys feels wrong to me.
Well, what seems wrong to me
is the Saban Lee.
Is Saban Lee at chalk. You know what I mean? Like
I know for a fact that the team is really interested in him and wants him to like be part of their future. That's why I don't think it's bogus. And I think you might see, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw 15 minutes out of him, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw 30 plus.
Well, you don't think that, for example, Hamidou Diallo is expected to be part of their future? I mean,
no.
Okay.
I mean, maybe. I think I think I like Diallo, but I don't even know. I actually have to look at contract stuff, but I think his contract might be over after this year.
Oh, is that right?
I'm not actually sure. Maybe one more year. I'm not sure actually. But yeah,
is Wayne Ellington not playing?
Ellington is out. No, Ellington's in. I'm sorry, Ellington's in.
Yeah, I'm just trying to I'm just trying to without just accepting the Saban Lee projection, face value. I'm just trying to figure out myself why he's such a great player.
It's too early to figure it out because we don't have a starting lineup. I mean, I really think that we're just reaching by trying to figure it out because Corey Joseph, if Saban Lee's starting, he's a good play. If Corey Joseph is starting, Saban Lee is a long shot tournament. He's not even a long shot, but a tournament play. That's just the way that I see it personally. And people have been anxious to play him in general because he is talented and it's a good matchup. This is a team that plays 3 guard lineups that they're playing against. And he certainly seems to fit the mold of a guy who would play minutes tonight. I just don't know what they're going to do with Corey Joseph. So I would love to see the starting lineup before we decide. But I don't think it's as important because it's not like, I mean, I don't think anybody's a must yet in this. I think we can revisit this one later.
Yeah, okay.
What about Memphis and Houston? I think that the guy who's been the absolute streakiest guy in the universe so far this season is I have a ton of interest in tonight. I think Moran could just go nuts here. Now it's always high risk with these guys, with him, especially this season because they've got a lot of other guys. He'll have the 15 fantasy point game, then he'll have a 50. I really like him here. I think that he absolutely could take over and dominate. I just don't know that this game is going to stay close. I really don't know like that they're going to need him to take over and dominate. So that's the only concern I have. But I like Joval and I like him, but mostly it's going to be just Ja Morant for me.
On the Memphis side, I agree. I agree with respect to those would be the only two guys. And yeah, I think Morant could go one of. I mean, I think he's got a decent range of outcomes here. You know, like you were saying, right? I think he definitely has, you know, these mid-50s possibilities. I think he also has a 30 in there. You know what I mean? I just do. I think that maybe this would be a game where you'd want to correlate him with either Wall or Christian Wood on the other side. That would be my first instinct. And likewise, Valanciunas, I wouldn't correlate Valanciunas with Wood. I don't like doing the opposite centers, but I would do maybe Valanciunas with what's his face with Wall maybe. That's kind of where I'm at. I hate to like jump over to Houston or whatever, but I'm also presuming that Christian Wood is in. And the other guy, obviously, that you can always play nowadays on Houston is Kevin Porter Jr. So maybe this is a sneaky stack game. I mean, you want to play a couple of those Houstons with even Morant and Joe Bow or something. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
It's hard because it's pretty clear that all of these guys on Houston take away significantly from each other. So the multiples of them getting there at these prices is going to be really difficult. Especially like, I mean, first of all, I've been pretty good with this lately. I actually looked back at, I think Memphis is going to win this game by more than 8 points. But if it does stay close, I kind of agree. Like the Wall thing, you look at his numbers, you know, only like in the 40, but you look at 40 fantasy points the other night. And I think that the game was a massive blowout. He had only played 25 minutes and he had 40 fantasy points. He had 47, you know, against Minnesota before that. He had the game against Charlotte where he only had 36, but that was another blowout and they only played 29 minutes. But that's part of their range of outcomes is these blowouts. The thing is, if he's healthy, like, and if they're good to go and they're like in the game, yeah, he does have a ceiling with even at 8,300. I'm not crazy about these prices personally. And Wood, I feel like with Wall hasn't been nearly the same productive guy that we were used to earlier in the season. And also the fact that they don't want to win it makes it harder to feel great about rostering all these guys at these prices. Again, it's a little bit more expensive, you know? So for me, I agree with the theory that we should play Wall with Morant or something like that. But I think for me, mostly it's just Ja at the moment on this giant slate.
Joval had 2 straight games against Gobert, which is you know, not easy. And he was fine, did good. He had 46 fantasy points in 28 minutes in one game, only shooting 5 for 14 from the field. What are you, 18 rebounds? Look at these rebounds.
He's a great rebounder.
Yeah.
He's a monster.
That's another thing. I mean, if say Wood is out, then the problem, it goes back and forth, right? It makes a much easier match for Valanciunas, yet it almost ensures he only plays 3 quarters, if that. So
right, it makes it yeah. Yeah, Valanciunas is out. We have to revisit it. I'm wondering what they would do if they ended up for some reason starting Kelly Olynyk. I wouldn't even mind going there.
I forgot about that.
So that would be kind of interesting. But mostly, again, this is just a Ja. I think it's Ja. I think Joval should smash the front line here, especially even whether Wood plays or not, to be honest. But I don't know how many minutes. And if I'm worried about the spread out production of the fact that nobody on Memphis plays 30 minutes except for Ja, like ever. So I just have to stick with only Ja.
Right.
You want to talk about Dallas OKC?
Yeah. So is Luka playing? I presume he's playing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have him as in right now. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna play like one lineup. So I was walking to work today, and I was listening to some stuff actually. I spent a little bit of time listening to the NBA slate, and one of the things I think about is before I even look at projections, I think about anything like what I would do if there were no projections in the world. You know what I mean? Like, what if I do? I just had to like kind of think on my own, just based on salaries and based on whatever, what I think was going to happen. And then I got back to whatever. I launched my projections. I launched whatever, and basically none of the guys that I was thinking about are would be in there. I'm gonna play it anyway. I'm just gonna say. So first thing I will say is that a couple of things. One is on the Dallas side. Is I like Luka today. I think he's I think the day off did him well. Whatever, and I definitely like him. I don't think I'm going to go to Kristaps, especially on DraftKings. Although I wimped out. I used them when Luka was out. that was nice of me. Me and everybody else on the planet.
It wasn't that. No, but he wasn't even that crazy high owned anyway.
I guess not.
Yeah.
And one guy I will throw out there, just in case the game does blow out. I don't know why I think this, but maybe like Trey Burke or something like that at 3,200 would be a guy to throw out there. He'll be a little off the board. I mean, maybe some guys will go to the other Dallas normal guys like Brunson and other people, but I don't know. I'm just kind of staring at it again. But that goes back to contrary to what I said earlier, is that on a slate like this, you really don't need to go for guys that can get zeros. You know what I mean? Like maybe you don't really need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was thinking is more something like this. So I want to clear this. I'm not going to do a whole lineup and whatever. So Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is out, right? And what's his name? And Lou Dort playing 700 minutes a night. He's out. And Baisley is out. And Horford is out, right? So if I just, for example, like did that, and then just played like all these guys who I know are gonna play, like Maladon, your man, Puka, Moses Brown, and where is he? And Isaiah Roby, and run all these guys are all going to play like in a close game, I think. Just like I would imagine, like all the minutes. Like we could start talking about other guys like Svi and maybe Tydro and whatever. But these are guys I kind of think I'm pretty confident. And then I run a line of like 3 of these guys with Luka and just shuffle these guys all.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess the prices look kind of fishy, but who cares? You know what I mean? And then you get the type of game you want. I mean, that's a GPP type thing. So that was my first thing. And I didn't do any deep dive into Svi, which I probably should. Do some deep dive into Ty Jerome, which probably should. But I know that Maladon's going to start a point guard, right? I know that Moses Brown's going to play 1 billion minutes, well, as much he can handle. You sold me on the Pukaszewski guy. Roby will play a lot. And these are just guys. I mean, they're not going to, not only anything, they're projecting all that great, but I don't know. It just seems to make a little bit of sense to me.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like the theory a lot, man. And first of all, I think Moses Brown is a premier play on the slate. I think he and Robert Williams at the same price. Like, look, we can't ignore this anymore. It's getting too ridiculous, right? Like,
well, I've got one last thing for you.
Okay,
is that if Rick Carlisle were a complete troll, okay, which he could be, and like if I happen to know Moses Brown going back to when he was younger, right? And if I'm Rick Carlisle, I put freaking Boban in there, and Boban just murders him. I mean, like that would be my thing to do. Okay, it would send him right back to Archbishop Malloy. I mean, that's like the first thing that the Moses Brown would not be able to deal with is someone like Boban on the court. So if I don't know if it's in his head or if he's even thinking of playing him at all. But again, 100-game slate. Maybe you don't have to do guys that are going to get zeros. But I think this could be a Boban spot.
Peach, you might be a genius. I actually think that makes a lot of sense. No, I'm serious. And I actually think, like, just keep an eye out, by the way. Like, because if Carlisle does it, he might just start with it. He'll do that sometimes. He'll just pop him right in the starting lineup.
Right.
That's kind of interesting. One thing that's, if there's anything concerning about Moses Brown is I have him on my season-long team, and everybody's like, how do you even know who this guy is? How does this, whatever, DFS, you're going to figure it out. The funniest thing though, the other night, I looked at it at halftime. I thought it was a misprint.
It was like my joke that I do on this podcast, right? Like, what do you get at the half? What do you get in the second half, right?
The problem was in the second half, I think he only had 2 points and 2 rebounds, but he had basically a 20-20 in the first half. So I love Moses Brown. I like what you're saying about the stacking. I'm a little concerned. Part of the reason why OKC, and they've done a great job this year of staying competitive when they shouldn't have, is that they really do spread these other minutes out a little bit.
Okay.
There's also a tiny chance that they might want to see a little bit what's happening with Tony Bradley. Could hurt Moses Brown a little bit, because Tony Bradley is a sort of a talented guy. He was playing actually pretty well for the Sixers in the time that they gave him. I don't think it's the highest thing. I think the main thing is to focus on Brown, but still, just keep that in mind. Also, he can, in case he gets in foul trouble or anything like that, obviously that can always happen with young centers. But I don't individually love any of these other plays. I think Maladon is a little pricier than I want, but I get it. I think Ty Jerome is actually more the way I would go for tournaments because I think
maybe you're right.
More game, and then Svi is cheap enough to where he makes sense, and Roby is talented enough, but they seem hesitant to give him the minutes. The guys whose minutes are most secure are Poku and Moses Brown, it would seem at the moment. And I'm always going to be in for Poku, especially because he's playing against literally the guy who sort of is like his archetype from like the future, like the guy who's going to be like he's like a mini Porzingis kind of a player, a little flashier, a little more of a creator, but the long skinny shooter from the outside kind of a thing. I actually think Porzingis is a good play here, and but it's just I like Luka too much. But I think Porzingis is he gets through these hot streaks, man, and it's like every game you think that he's like the best player on the court or on the planet. And I'm afraid of playing Luka for that reason right now, and I'm afraid of fading Porzingis. So I will have a little Porzingis. I think I like him a little better on FanDuel because the power forward position he matches up, fits really well over there with my 8,800 Sabonis. But Luka's still a premium play. If you could get Luka and Harden in today, I think that's not going to be off the board, but I think it makes a lot of sense. And most of it's going to be Moses Brown. But I don't mind the idea of mixing in 2 or 3 of these guys and then shuffling it up. I think that's an interesting way to go.
They used to back in the day of for political correctness, people would be able to say mother jokes and fat jokes, whatever. Pukasevsky is so thin that he can't even be seen in his OKC jersey picture on his DraftKings profile. So I don't know. I like him. He's he hasn't put up that many good games, if you want to know the truth.
No, he's all over the map.
5,400 kind of rough too, but I still like what I want to do. I still gonna play a couple maybe with Luka, and then maybe not 4 guys, maybe like 2 or 3, and kind of shuffle them around and see what happens.
Yeah, I look at his game thing and I get excited. First of all, they had a lot more players, including like Shea playing and Horford playing a lot of those games. Don't forget that. But also, and he actually becomes like a semi-creator. I mean, look at the assist numbers. All of the numbers look like he's going to translate into something having, big, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to be streaky. You get the 48 game against Memphis, and then you get a 15 and 30 minutes against Chicago. It's just he's going to be all over the map. He turns the ball over a ton. He'll get on the coach's bad side, but he'll put him back in again after 2 minutes. And I actually think that you're going to see him as in more of a playmaking role with Shea out. So I'm still on board with Popievsky. I'm not like making it a priority, but he's definitely a play. I think we have a catch me up game coming up.
Yeah. So Sacramento, San Antonio. Here's my comment. No thanks for De'Aaron Fox at 9,500. I'm just not doing it.
Yep.
I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he can get 60 at 2% ownership. I'm sure it's possible, but I know San Antonio is not as good as they used to be, but I'm just not in it. The Rashad Holmes play makes a little bit of sense, I guess, with Whiteside out.
Whiteside might come back, by the way, just FYI.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Don't think I'm going to get there. Anybody else in Sacramento? On San Antonio, no. Sacramento, no thanks. The one guy I'll say on San Antonio, I mean, I watched a little bit of this a couple of days ago. For some reason, nobody really likes playing him that much anymore, just because he just seems to never hit a ceiling. But against Sacramento, I don't know. Maybe this is a good spot for DeJounte Murray to get like 50. That would be my That'd be my take. I mean, he gets up and down the floor. He's gets his, he'll get rebounds too. That would be really the only guy I would play in the same time. I don't want to play DeRozan. I just don't feel like it. For me, it would be DeJounte Murray.
I understand it. The matchup does sort of seem to suit him, but he just does so little. Like, I mean, in the half court, like he needs the game to be in transition. But this is the kind of game that doesn't.
It is. You're right.
I actually think DeRozan at 7'9" is definitely in play for me. But I'm not like making it a priority. That's it for the whole game for me. I have no interest in anything on Sacramento's side. I think it would be Halliburton, I guess, would be the play that I would look at, but I'm just not going to do any of it.
All right.
They have Delon Wright in there now too, to eat up some other minutes, which I don't really understand. I feel bad for Delon Wright because he's a good player. He's not going to get any playing time. But anyway, just keep that in mind.
All right. So what is this nonsense?
What is a Broderick Thomas?
What is this crap?
Okay, so it's a minutes thing with him. He's going to play them. I don't know what to say. It certainly doesn't feel great. But
he just all of a sudden they just started playing him, and then so they started playing him on the 26th of March, and he responded with the stellar 0 for 7 shooting, right? And then so they said, okay, that's good enough for me. Let's give him 31 minutes the next game, and he really responded with 2 for 8 shooting. So that's the story. That's the chalkiest guy on the slate. Is that
not going to be the chalkiest? He'll have some ownership, but look, I mean,
I'm just asking. I don't know who he is. I missed it. I just missed it.
Cleveland doesn't want to win games, is what they're telling you. Like that to me just seems like it's a smoke signal. Also, they lower like good players, minutes. Like I just think that it's also weird to they have plenty of guards. So why is Broderick Thomas showing up?
Sexton played 40. I mean,
no, I know Sexton. Sexton did play the minutes last time. And actually Garland played 33 as well. But they're playing a 3-guard lineup that basically always has those 2 guys and Dotson or Thomas on the court.
Who got screwed? Osman? Yeah.
Osman, yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, like Osman is like out of the rotation almost, and I almost feel like he might be the better play. Like, who knows what they're doing? I would be inclined to I'll definitely have some ownership if we really think he's going to play. I think he is going to play some minutes. It just feels wrong. I hear you with your I don't know. I don't feel like there's any reason we have to assume that he's going to play a million minutes again. Although they did increase his minutes, 4 games in a row, but after his 15-minute game, 2 weeks ago, then he gets a DNP-CD the next game. So just be very careful with this, guys. Just be very, very careful. Don't be locked into Broderick Thomas. He's a guy, we'll see what the field does with him, but I'm guessing that if the field is in the double-digit percentages, we want to be underneath it. I don't think that these numbers are going to project the same later in the day. It just seems crazy, right?
I'm just telling you, I have 3 different sets of ownership projections right now, okay? One says 25%. That's the lowest.
I don't think these are right, though.
The other one, I'm just telling you what I have. It says 32%. And another one says 50.4%. Listen, guys, it's all yours. I will tip my hat. If you guys play him at 50% ownership, you are better than, and he smashes and I lose, that is you're a better man than I am.
I guess what we're gonna have to figure out with him is what I mean, we don't have time to get to go do another thing soon, but we probably should popcorn machine this one and figure out exactly what happened in that Sacramento game that led to so many. Even though he had a similar thing against the Lakers, it just doesn't really.
We're doing this. We can be 10 minutes late for the other thing. Can you do me a favor? I'm not on Skype. Can you just text him real quick?
Yeah. Let me
just say we're going to be 10 minutes late. So who are we talking about here? Cleveland.
Exactly. Broderick Thomas. Yeah.
Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
Well, he played full starters minutes.
It's just so weird. I mean, if he's starting again, that we'll just use that as our cue then. But just keep in mind that doesn't have to happen that way.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, everybody was out.
Well, no, not last time. Sexton and Garland were in.
Well, hold on a minute. But is Jared Allen not on the team anymore?
Jared Allen was out. but so the
that filters down, right? I mean,
yeah.
they had 7, 8 players in this game.
We also have Prince, who's questionable. He might be back tonight.
Maybe Dotson.
Lamar Stevens played in the last game, didn't he? Yeah. No, he must.
What happened to the NBA?
Hey, this is weird. We're gonna have to let's call this the 6 Eastern.
Excuse me, and they lost by 2. They lost by 2 on like a freaking Christian Laettner play at the end of the game.
I don't know, man.
Dude, it was like a 1-point game. I swear to you, forget who threw the ball. I think De'Aaron Fox threw the ball the length of the freaking court to Harrison Barnes, who hit a buzzer beater to win the game.
That's right. That was that play. Wow. I don't know what to do with it, man. I think we're gonna have to revisit it. Hopefully we'll have a starting lineup. If he is starting again, I'm definitely gonna have a hard time at 3,300 not having some interest, but by then we might have even had much better value. We don't even know yet. It feels weird. It doesn't feel right. And I don't think we're doing anything else in this game, right? Like there's nothing to do, I don't think.
Good for Chicago getting what's his name, huh?
Yeah, they've been really bad though.
And by the way, also, you know, looked good last night. He only played like 15, 20 minutes, but Wendell Carter Jr. looked really good for Orlando.
Yeah, I think Wendell Carter Jr. is going to have a nice future.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. I think this game could be, well, the one guy I like from this game is scary as crap. So I don't like much from this game. The only guy I have is like an impossible matchup. So I actually do think at the price, Wiseman at 5,200 is pretty good, but it's just a ridiculous matchup to like him at. I don't think I want to battle the usage by taking either Vooch or Zach LaVine. Considering there are other guys that they're in the game, they're on the court too. So I'm probably going to pass on this game pretty much. I mean, maybe I'll play Wiseman he'd probably be low owned tonight because it's a crap matchup. And because there's Moses Brown and Robert Williams in the mid range also. So, but I think Wiseman's, oh God, it's gonna be so scary to play him in that spot. But that happens to be the only guy I like right now.
Yeah, I like Vooch actually. I think that there's nobody to match up with him, including Wiseman. He's just not big and strong enough yet. I would consider Wiseman on for sure. I mean, like on Fanduel at 4K, that's a price you can get in behind, but it's hard to play him for me at 5,200. So if Curry plays, even coming back, they'll usually play their guys 30 plus minutes even in this situation. So if Curry does play, I'm going to have some interest in Curry. If Curry does not play, I have some interest in Draymond and probably going to skip the Wiggins tonight, but it would open up for all these other guys too. But I think that Draymond, it really depends on whether Curry plays or not. I would lean Draymond as a reasonable play if he's out.
All right, and then tremendous basketball game, I guess.
Yep.
It depends on whether you think that. And I'm kind of cheating because I saw your tweet from the other day. You were not much of a Giannis supporter in this.
Well, he just pissed me off because I like him and he's playing like garbage.
Yeah, I like him tonight. Well, I like him every night. So I like Giannis. And then like these, I don't know what they did. Like everybody was out. Everybody's sad. I don't even know when any of that was. But they got more guys I never heard of. Sam Merrill. I will just say a couple of just random thoughts. Just submitted for your approval. Bryn Forbes is 3,100. Just at the end of the comment, I guess. Bryn Forbes is 3,100. And the other guys I like are from the other side. I don't like anybody else from Milwaukee except for Giannis and maybe a Bryn Forbes ridiculous play. But on the Clippers side, I mean, obviously, if one of those guys are out, I would take the other one. And between Kawhi and Paul George, I think they're both probably decent plays. But there are other guys now, so like you have to really think about playing Terrence Mann every day now. I think he's 4,300. Zubac remains, an okay play wherever he's at 5,100. But guy I'm looking at right now is Reggie Jackson at 4,400. He's going to play. He's playing 30 minutes, right? So that would be my group of guys. I mean, I think that you could play Giannis with either of those guys as a run back and just hope he has a good game finally. But I mean, what do you think of Reggie Jackson? What do you think of some of this other stuff?
First, I'm very into the Giannis play tonight. I don't care about these recent results. It's very fluky what happened the last few games, and this team has no rim protection that I'm afraid of. So I will absolutely load up on Giannis. I don't even care if he's individually matched up with either PG or Kawhi. I just think that he's 10-7. The problem is they're all great prices and they're all great plays. He, Luka, and Harden, and we've run into this every slate. Which one's the pick? Harden seems like the best pick to me. And I think you could make an argument Giannis is number 2. It's really close, but I think that, just taking position out of it because positions are the guards more loaded. I actually do really like what you mentioned about the Clippers. I think I will have a heavy interest in either one of Paul George or Kawhi. My initial lean, because of the way they give up threes and because he tends to shoot more of them than Kawhi does, it would be Paul George. Also playing really well lately. And then I like the Reggie Jackson idea. It's not like, I'm not saying it's the greatest matchup, but his price is nice on both sides. He is another one with a wide range of outcomes, but as we just saw against San Antonio today, he put up 40 in a game. When he gets it going, he can really get it going. The guys who are going to be forgotten about in this game, I think, are very interesting because I think Marcus Morris ends up playing against Giannis for the most part, which just because he's historically known as being a very good defender, and they probably won't want to put Kawhi and Paul George there the whole time. So Marcus Morris, I think, will end up playing some minutes here. And I think Zubac is probably getting to a price where I just feel like there's a little bit, not quite enough left for his upside. I mean, he can get to 40, but it's sort of a tough route for him. So I kind of have a little bit of interest in Marcus Morris. And I like the Clippers a lot tonight. This game should be fast paced, one of the highest totals in the slate. And then you run it back with Giannis on the other side. The only thing I want to mention is there somebody maybe we're missing on Milwaukee that might make sense? Like I do think that on Fanduel, I'll take a shot on Chris Middleton. He's been over 45 2 out of the last 3 games. But that's pretty much all I have, I guess. But
what are you can't get behind. I mean, Terrence Mann at this price point would have made 7x 3 of his last 4 games.
It's a good point, and you just can't play him with Reggie Jackson, I don't think. They're just, even though they had the one game that they both did have a big game together, it's not the common lineup they're going to run out there. So just even thinking about Matt, like I like Terrence Mann. I think he's definitely trending in the right direction. Maybe you're right, and you know what? Maybe the minutes projection on him is a little bit low. Yeah, I can get behind it, Sheets. I'm into the Terrence Mann idea too. I just think I don't want to have too many guys, but if I do, I'd rather them be in this last game so I can adjust and shift. And Terrence Mann, Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Kawhi, all in play. But I think I would go Paul George, followed by Jackson, followed by Kawhi, followed by Jackson, followed by probably Morris, then Mann. I like a lot of guys on this team, so that's a little bit worrisome, but they certainly all have a ceiling and they can all get there. And this is a great matchup for them just because of the pace.
Want to do FanDuel real quick?
Yeah, let's do a quick one on FanDuel. I did send a text message to let them know we'd be a few minutes late. So real quick positions. Point guard, who you got? I know you're going to say you don't want to do it.
No, actually. So first of all, the reality picks are Luka and Westbrook if Beal is out. Maybe even Westbrook if Beal is in. But Westbrook I think is a good play. I like John Wall. I like Ja at 7,100. I like a couple of guys. I think my favorite play, he's going to be chalky too. One of 2 guys. It's going to be either Malcolm Brogdon. He's going to be chalky as hell, isn't he?
It's hard. No. Before you say that, look at all the prices around on these guys. Malcolm Brogdon is the same price as Kyle Lowry if he plays.
I'll tell you this. I mean, if these ownerships are what they are, this is a ridiculous play considering all the different options. But I'm going to go with Maladon. How about that?
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting because that was not one I was.
I'm not playing Saban Lee at 15%.
I actually think Maladon is a really strong. Actually, he's a good.
Who'd you think I was going to say?
I didn't. Well, I just think there's a bunch of other guys. So like, I mean, look, it's not the most. If Lonzo Ball's out, Bledsoe is 4,100. Okay,
that's true.
If we have what's his name? We have Ja obviously, Reggie Jackson again 4,300 seems very fair. Brogdon,
yep.
Lowry, and Maladon are all stand out to where I'm not as desperate to find the way to play the Lukas and the Westbrooks. And I would prefer Luka over Westbrook if Beal plays. I would prefer Westbrook over Luka if Beal doesn't. But it's there's a lot of strong plays over here, and there are a lot of guys who are underpriced at the point guard spot. So it's going to be an easy position to spend down. And then also Ja being at only 7-1. Like there's just a lot of good options there.
But shooting guard, Broderick Thomas rates to be the top point per dollar play on the slate that I'm not playing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one so far.
I don't know. Maybe I will, but I'm not. If he made lock now, he would. I'm telling you, just going to be like transparent to DFS. He wouldn't get a share. He wouldn't. I'll tell you who might get a share is Fred VanVleet at 7,400, especially if Lowry's out.
Yep.
Ooh, a little disrespect with DIRESPECT on Bradley Beal at 8,800.
He deserves it the way he's been playing.
Speaking of which, Zach LaVine 7,500.
Oof.
And everything I said, I know it's different with Vooch there, but hell. And then obviously the best play is Harden. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think Harden's the best play as well. I'm definitely going to take some shots on LaVine at 7,500. It's just there's too many routes. You know what I mean? There's too many ways he can get there and just get hot and you feel like an idiot. But I also feel the same way about Fred VanVleet as being 7,400 as being a little disrespectful. Especially if Lowry's out, like just play Fred VanVleet over here. But definitely my favorite is Harden, and not interested in the real low spend downs.
On an 11-game slate, the small forward position still can't come up with a good play. Look at this. I can't. Everybody stinks. So
this is where you could consider playing the Holiday that we talked about before.
Right.
He's 3,800.
Yeah, he's like that's what I'm saying. My two highest rated guys are guys I never play, like Dorian Finney-Smith at 3,800 and Justin Holiday. Oh, dude, you want to talk about some disrespect? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's deserved it, but this is like an actual basketball player. Like Bojan Bogdanovic is 4,100. I mean, I know we got all kinds of game script issues and all kinds of other stuff, but 4,100?
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, Patrick Williams, I know he struggled the last couple of games, but he's 3,600. It's pretty nuts.
And if you don't like any of that, you could just play Kawhi and Jimmy Butler, right?
Yeah, but the problem is there's one great play I feel like that we talked about briefly over there. But Malik Beasley at 5,600 seems like
okay, that's interesting.
So I like it's a big difference between paying 65 on a 50K cap for 50 than 56 on a 60K cap. So I would much rather play Malik Beasley over here. It's not a pretty position. I agree with you. When that happens, you can go with the sort of the safer guy in Chris Middleton. I know that safe doesn't sound like up your alley with Middleton. I like Butler also, but what about taking a shot on Sadiq Bey, Mr. Streaky over here himself? He's 4,800. We've seen multiple 50 pluses from him this season. The minutes are pretty locked in. People you'd say he's shooting reliant, but then you see he breaks. He has those big rebound games here and there. Doesn't tend to do a whole bunch from the steal and blocks upside, which is not great, but he's 4,800 going to play 32 to 36 minutes. I'm sorry. He's kind of interesting to me, but yeah, this is a position I probably will get some better feel later in the slate when we know exactly who's playing.
Power forward, man, that's gross too. Top point per dollar play is the guy I sort of heard of. Like Dean Wade is the guy I've sort of heard of.
Dean Wade. What about McDaniels?
He's second for me.
Oh, okay.
So these two guys are number 1 and 2, and then I got Roby right underneath that. So maybe I'll play him. And then Puka is
oh, hiccup.
This is the position to place a bonus. I don't know. Tough position, man. I don't know. I wasn't expecting this. I don't want to play any of those two top value. I don't want to play Wade. I don't want to play McDaniels. I think maybe Roby in lineups without Moses Brown, maybe that's what I would do.
Yeah, that makes some sense. I like McDaniels. I like Kluber as the spend downs, and I like Roby. Dean Wade is. I just want to say that it's so weird. He's been good. He's been very good. He's what have we got? 19 or more fantasy. Not that that's amazing, but 19 or more fantasy points for a guy who's near the minimum in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight games. The minutes have been pretty secure for him. It's a terrible matchup, which doesn't really affect anything. I think I would rather just play, I rather would just jump up to Poku. And Lauri Markkanen is, talk about disrespectful. He's deserved it, but he is 4,800 and Jeremy Grant 69. There are a lot of guys who are really, really low priced for, I get some of the reason. I don't get the whole thing. And then you've got the Giannis at 11-1, which might actually end up being lower owned than people think. I think people are going to end up pay down here. So
there are plays at center that I like a lot more than Cat actually. Well, even aside from the value, but I'll talk about the value first. My top value guy right now is someone who's going to get 12 fantasy points. If I play him, I just know it.
Wiseman?
Yep. And he's going to get his 12, and I'm going to get pissed. Then you have two guys, and again, it's the same decision we had to make the other day. Between Moses Brown and Robert Williams, they're very similar in price, the same price, and they're basically a coin flip for me. I'll watch for ownership for those two, and then game script problems. But Rudy Gobert's only 8,200. I might try that, and then I actually. No, I was about to say I like Vooch a little more than Cat even, but I'm probably not gonna get to either of them. For me, if I spend up more than those value guys, it'll probably be to a lower shown Gobert.
Yeah, I get that. I'm not going that route myself, but I like the main guys, Wiseman, Brown, and Williams as the.
What about Joval 3,200, 7,300? I mean,
fine, but I would just much rather play Miles Turner. I actually really like Miles Turner over here. And I think that he's like, you talk about a guy who's the ultimate GPP play these days. Like at 5,700, he put up 46 in the last game. The 2 games before that against Miami, a tough matchup, he put up 37. He had 7 blocks and 5 blocks in those games. But listen to his blocks for the last few games he's played: 7, 3, 5, 5, 2, 5, 4. That's a huge floor. And the weird part is he doesn't always get there. But if he does literally anything else at all, he's going to put up like 40 plus fantasy points if he keeps going like that. And Washington, of course, attacks the basket as much as any team in the NBA. I think they're third most, and gets the third or fourth most shots blocked. I can't remember exactly which one it is. So I really like Miles Turner as a pivot off of the other guys. And then I would spend all the way up for Cat in certain lineups, but for the most part, that's not the way I'm going to build them.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, hey, great being with you. We'll see you guys at 6 Eastern, and let's have a great week.
Sounds good. I'll see you in a few.